The Center, with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. More important than that, you can check us out at otwtube.com. That's otwtube.com. Y'all gotta give me a second because I'm not in a good mood at all. I made the mistake of watching Netanyahu's speech, and then let's see, what is this? I'm trying to which, yeah, here we go. That's it. All right. Well, I try to figure out what song I like. I made the mistake of watching Netanyahu's speech and watching the United States Congress clapping like seals, and it pretty much made me want to throw up. So, first of all, let me greet everybody. My humble apologies. BB40, Straight Black Pride, their brother Elijah, BB40, the sister Vanessa. I see we got fake Tariq Rashid in the building. BB40, Straight Black Pride, sister Najee. Greetings to Lee Clinton. BB40, you got ripped off. BB40, the sister Simone. And BB40, to brother Jarake. My humble apologies for not putting up the notifications on Instagram. That would, by the time I really got myself together, it was kind of late. It's kind of interesting, because I know when I came on Thursday, people said that they didn't get the notifications for that on. They didn't get the notification on YouTube. So I don't know if YouTube's sending out my notifications or not. I know a lot of people complain about that. So it is what it is. But because I had put these up well, first of all, everybody should know I'm coming on Sundays. But I put these up days ago, so I figured everybody saw it. But I guess I have to put them up on Instagram. Plus, my Instagram, they back to shadow banning me. My Instagram, I'm back in that space with them where the number of followers never goes up, regardless of how many people follow. So if people follow, they just unfollow some other people apparently. So that Instagram number hasn't gone up. It's been within the same range of 10 that it's been in for, like, I don't know, maybe 6 months now. So going through that with Instagram, I don't get a lot of engagement on a lot of posts unless it's kind of dealing with, I don't know. I haven't found a pattern yet. So I know for a fact I'm dealing with the Instagram shadow. That just is what it is. That's I've been dealing with that for so long I don't even remember. As for YouTube, they kind of treat everybody the same. Like, no matter how big you are, if you're not doing entertainment, then they don't really push you. If you're doing entertainment or just goofiness, right, then they push you. So that is that. So anyway, yeah, let me get to this. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Most of y'all in here know, but I'll say it again for those who may listen later. This Saturday, Brother Jenny will be doing a Chopping It Up August 3rd in Baltimore, Maryland at Terra Cafe, which is on, I think it's 101 East 25th Street in Baltimore at 2 p.m. So that'll be taking place. That's free. And then 2 weeks after that, we'll be back in the same place for the 10th anniversary. The 10th annual SBPM, Straight Black Pride Movement Convention. Brother Darren Muhammad, Brother Jenny, they'll be speaking. And an actual special guest in addition to that. So that's free. I'm going to stream that. I pretty much have come to the conclusion I'm going to stream that, and I'm going to do it so it's a private stream and not on YouTube. That way, it should be, you bypass YouTube, don't have to worry about censorship. So I'll let you all know. Let's see, I'm coming on Tuesday. Yeah, I'll probably let you all know Tuesday if I need some additional funds. So if you want to donate to that, you can donate to that via the Cashapp, $ DC Radical 1. Because if you donate via the super chat, I won't get that. I won't actually get that until after the convention. So yeah, that's how that'll go. Because in order for me to do that through the StreamYard directly, that's a different pay tier for StreamYard. So, by the way, shout out to whoever used the signed up for StreamYard through the link that I put in all the streams. I appreciate that. If you sign up for the pay tier, then you get a discount, and I get a discount. I think discount I get is in essence a month for free. So if anybody wants to, start doing live streaming, they want to use StreamYard, please hit the link that's in the description. And yeah, I get in essence free month. So, all right, that's all the announcements. You got ripped off. I ain't missed nothing, did I? So let's get to this. So earlier this week, I don't even know the date, Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, whose real name is not Netanyahu, but is Benjamin Milakowski. That's actually his name, right? Came to Senate. Spoke before Congress and basically declared that the United States will be going to war in service of Israel. That's what he said. He talked about these clash of civilizations and all this and this and that. At the same time, mind you, while his nation is destroying and murdering children, because that's the only people that's left. They didn't kill everybody else. So the estimates now are over 200,000 Palestinians killed. Now, I'm gonna just be completely honest, man. Y'all know I used to be a Muslim, right? And I don't know if I've ever told the story of why I never became an Orthodox Muslim. So I'm gonna tell the story. Yeah. Here's what happened. So y'all know, once upon a time, many years ago, I was in the nation, and eventually, I was like, you know what, I need to learn more, do a comparative about, quote unquote Orthodox Islam and all that. So I delve deep into that because y'all, if you know me, you know how I am. I'm always inquisitive. I'm always seeking knowledge, right? And so anyway, met a lot of people, did a lot of studying, a lot of reading, was learning some Arabic and things like that. And so I had bought this DVD, right? Now this been maybe like 15 years ago, something like that. So I bought this DVD, it's a true story. And so the DVD was supposed to show you the proper way to make salat, which is prayer. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna make sure, I'm on point when we doing things correct. Even now, mind you, I had done this for years before that, but whatever. So I want to be on point, you know what I'm saying? Go to Juma, all this stuff. Right? I feel like I was on point. And so I get the DVD. I ordered from, this Islamic company. I can't even remember the name of it now. I put it in. And it's God's honest truth. This dude comes on, like they had an intro. This dude comes on and I'm looking at him. And I'm like, man, this ain't no Arab. And this is Urugu. Now, I didn't actually say Urugu. Y'all know what I said. Right. Starts with a C. Ends with 3 A's. And so I looked, and then that was it. That was the end of Islam. But you're like, why are you bringing up that story? I bring up that story because the murder of 200,000 Palestinians, most of whom are Muslims, is such an embarrassing stain on the Muslim world that I can't see how any person could call themselves Muslim and sit around and watch this, right? Now, people can say, oh man, well, they can't do anything because the leadership or this and that and that and yada yada and blah blah blah. But let's be completely honest. I thought that we as Black people in America have at times shown completely disgustingly rank cowardice. You know what I'm saying? Like rank. I mean, chicken little shaking in your boots, stinking cowardice of the highest order to make you want to vomit, right? I mean, you see these poop lickers, you see something happen to Black people, and they sitting around talking about praying and the Lord and all this, and it makes me want to vomit looking at it. It's disgusting behavior. But that's the way I feel watching the entire world watch the slaughter of what's going on in Palestine. And the reason why is because that's actually being shown. Now, Black people being murdered in Congo ain't nobody even talking about. And that's what's dangerous. What's dangerous is if non-Black people can be slaughtered and it's shown before the world, then Black people don't have no chance, right? So that's why we should care. Also, we should care because, as Brother Genie has shown, those people who say they are Jews and are not, but indeed are the synagogue of Satan, have shown their willingness to slaughter anyone, anywhere, at any time, including the former and probably future president of the United States. Right? So that's just where I am mentally tonight. And to see United States Congress sitting up there like some clapping seals. And it doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican, because even though the Democrats say they, well, a handful of them, not the whole party, let me clarify that, say that they're not for this wanton genocide, we have to remember, right? The president of the United States is a Democrat. He can at any moment, or could have at any moment, right, simply cut off the money. Plain and simple. Right? Just like when Obama was the president of the United States and black people were being gunned down in the street by police, he could have simply wrote an executive order saying that if any black person is murdered by police unjustly, the police shall be executed. Now, he could have did that, right? But he didn't do it. I don't want to hear the president can do whatever he wants by executive order. And then you say, well, you can't do that. Then you take it to court, and the court runs it around for years and years and years, and by that time it's done anyway. If we're being completely honest about how the American government works. So this idea that the Democrats, or they're not really for war or this and that, and it's the Republicans that are for war, they're all slaves of AIPAC, slaves of Israel, and slaves of the Jew. Complete, and the so-called leaders of America, the legislators of America, the executive branch of America, Hollywood, the banks, you name it, are complete and total slaves. Disgustingly so. And I was looking at some comments from people that were talking about the speech. And there's a few people that's like, yeah, man, it's disgusting, this or that. But they don't want to really come out and just say what it is. The problem in the Middle East ain't all the other people. The problem in the Middle East is Israel. That's the problem. That's when the problem started. With all these wars and all this stuff, before they went over there, realistically, they were relatively calm. Remember, all the war was going on in Europe. World War I in Europe. World War II in Europe. The so-called Middle East had been settled for the most part. But anyway, I wanted to just look at a little bit of who in the heck this Netanyahu character is, and then I will play the speech, and then you guys are gonna come back, talk a little more, go through some articles. Then I'm gonna get to Dr. McKinney and what she says about, got to play it again. You know what I'm saying? Because she told us a long time ago, right? So, let's just look at a little bit Netanyahu. This is strictly from his wiki. So anything in here that's incorrect, blame wiki, don't blame me, right? But I just want to look at a few things. So, says he was born in 1949 in Tel Aviv, right? His mother, Zilla, I don't know. Segal was born in Petah Tikva in the Ottoman Empire's area of Jerusalem, and his father was born in Warsaw, Poland. So basically, he's Polish, right? And that's Mr. Milikowski. And he was a historian specializing in the Jewish golden age of Spain. Let's stop right here. I know y'all like. Think about this, right? his father is a historian, and he focused on the so-called Jewish golden age of Spain, not the Moorish golden age of Spain. Right? So that shows you how they do with rearranging history. We know that there were Jews in Moorish Spain, but the golden age was because of the Moorish influence, which was, of course, Arab and African Muslims who actually brought civilization to that area, right? So I just wanted to point that out because it just goes to show how they go about rearranging history. Now, his paternal grandfather, Nathan Milikowski, was a rabbi and Zionist writer, right? When Netanyahu's father immigrated to what they call mandatory Palestine, he Hebraized his surname from Milikowski to Netanyahu, meaning God has given. While his family is predominantly Ashkenazi, of course, he says that a DNA test revealed him to have some Sephardic ancestry. Now, why is that important? Because he has to make this claim in order to be able to claim that he even belongs in that land. Now, here's what has not taken place to my knowledge. Now, if I'm wrong, somebody wants to come in the comments later on and say, sir, you are incorrect and you're ignorant, then that's fine. Here's what is not taking place. No archaeological excavation from 4,000 to 5,000 years ago has taken place with DNA samples to do a comparative analysis between the people who claim to, those who say they are Jews and are not, right? To say that they have a definitive claim to that area based upon DNA and historical research, right? See, now you like, well, no black people, false. See, what we know for a fact that Sheikh Anta Diop went and did testing, right, on quote unquote mummies in ancient Kemet to show and prove that the ancient Kemites, or what they call Egyptians, were in fact African people. So we've done the research and have shown and proven 70 years ago. So all I'm saying is we can end this whole debate. We can end this whole discussion about who owns the land, who's supposed to be there, by doing archaeological digs and DNA evidence and releasing the evidence to the people. But is anybody willing to do that? Has anybody suggested that? Has anybody come to that conclusion? Absolutely not, because if these people are to be liars, then it unravels virtually the whole basis of quote unquote Western civilization. Because I'm gonna give you the key to why they are supported by the West. The identity of Europeans, quote unquote, white people in the modern context is wrapped up in the belief, the mythology of these people who say they are Jews being the chosen people. If you remove these people from being the chosen people, then the whole concept of white domination becomes unraveled. These two things are inextricably linked, but no one wants to say it. If these people are not the chosen people, then the myth of white superiority goes away, and then the whole white identity, the psychology of it, begins to unravel. Because if you don't have a mandate from God to do what you did, including murder 200,000 people currently right now as we speak, if you don't have the divine right, then you're simply a murderer and a barbarian. You see what I'm saying? So realistically, it would be important, but it is important, but no one wants to do it, for people to challenge the mythology of the reality of these people's claim. But here's the problem. Who's going to challenge it when approximately 2.3 billion Christians depend on this being the truth, and approximately 1.5 billion Muslims? See, because if we start digging up and doing research and find that none of these people are who they claim to be, then you got about 4 billion people that's going to suffer a mental breakdown, because now they got to question that which they have believed in and been told their entire lives. You see what I'm saying? So this myth of the chosen people is wrapped up literally 40% of quote unquote humanity, right? So no one wants to challenge it. Even though the Bible that they claim to believe in talks about the synagogue of Satan and those who say they are Jews and what are not. Even though the Bible says, ye are what? Of your father, what? The devil. Why? Because he was a liar and you are liars. So if we want to find out who are the servants of the devil, we should find out the people who what? Tell lies and murder people. Right? So people claim to believe in the book, but they don't actuate on the book, or they don't follow Jesus in his condemnation of those who say they are Jews and are not, and those who are liars and murderers from the beginning. What's the point of reading the book and believing in it if you don't believe in the part what Jesus talked about, but you claim you're a Christian? The Christian should be vehemently, not clapping like a seal, while the liar and the murderer is in your face, telling lies to murder, but should be condemning him as Jesus would be if he was standing here right now. He would probably be outside of Congress getting his head beat in at a protest because he was saying these people are liars and murderers. But I digress. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch the highlights from Mr. Netanyahu's speech, and then I got a special surprise at the end of the highlight. So I want you all to give me a second to put the pause to the music. Okay, my reflex is too slow. I was trying to get it at the wrong one. All right, so let's check out Mr. Netanyahu's highlights from his speech.
Today, at a crossroads of history, our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together. Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose. And my friends, I came to assure you today of one thing: we will win. I thank President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel after the savage attack on October 7th. He rightly called Hamas sheer evil. He dispatched 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East to deter a wider war. And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten. President Biden and I have known each other for over 40 years. I want to thank him for half a century of friendship to Israel and for being, as he says, a proud Zionist. Actually, he says a proud Irish-American Zionist.
Now, I wanted to show that because I wanted to juxtapose the speech with the reality of what's taking place. And because this is what happens. Thank you, brother. We don't see what happens. We don't see what's happening on the ground. I actually I got some stuff way more graphic than that, but this is YouTube. But I want people around the world, Muslims, Christians, Black people, to see what's really going on, because you're next. Keep it 100. You're next, right? If this can happen where everyone knows it's happening and no one does anything, what's to stop it from happening to you? And in fact, it's happening to Black people right now. What's the sister's name? Miss Massey was shot down by the police for no reason. She said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." First of all, I'm going to say this to Black people. Limit your interaction with European police officers as much as possible. If you call for the police and they send you a European, just do not open your door. Just kindly say, "Please send a Black officer. I do not interact with European police officers. Thank you very much." That's where we at. You can't allow these people in your house. Don't call them for anything that doesn't involve, unless it's just necessary. And if you live in a state where you can be armed, just whatever you can afford, buy it. Just plain and simple. You're a woman, you live by yourself. If you got one, get two. Because the chance of you being murdered is 50% by the police. Like, this stuff happens all the time. We only hear about it. It becomes a big deal during election year, but it happens all the time. And as I said before, when Mr. Obama was president, he signed an executive order to protect the police, not to protect the people from the terrorists who are masquerading as police. Right? So the wanton murder people in Palestine and the wanted murder of people in America is the same. That's why those seals were clapping. Right? So, what I wanted to do real quick is, because I showed those clips, so let me get to one of these articles I brought up. Let me see which one. Let me see. This is it. I didn't want to do a lot of articles. I just in the world. Come on. Great. Not a normal war. Doctors say children have been targeted by Israeli snipers in Gaza. This is not me. This is not DC Radical One's blog. This is from The Guardian. They want to tell you it's 3 months old. That nothing has changed, so it doesn't matter how old. Not a normal war. I'm going to repeat that again. Doctors say children have been targeted by Israeli snipers. IDF says it completely rejects charge that the soldiers deliberately fired on any of the thousands of civilians killed in the offensive, which we know is a lie. A liar and murderer from the beginning. Let's get to it. Dr. Fazia Albi was making her rounds of the intensive care unit on her final day at the battered European Public Hospital in southern Gaza when she stopped next to 2 young arrivals with facial injuries and breathing tubes in their windpipes. I asked the nurse what's the history. She said they were brought in a couple of hours ago. They had sniper shots to the brain. They were 7 or 8 years old. The Canadian doctor's heart sank. These were not the first children treated by Albi, who was told were targeted by IDF, Israeli soldiers, and she knew the damage was a single high-caliber bullet could do to a fragile young body. They were not able to talk, paraplegic. They were literally lying there as vegetables on those beds. They were not the only ones. I saw even smaller children with direct sniper wounds to the head as well as to the chest. These were not combatants. These were small children. Children account for more than 1 in 3 of the more than 32,000 people. Now, that was then. The estimates are way more than this. So if you say that it's 1 in 3 now, and they're saying that it's 200,000, that means that they're saying 100,000 children have been killed by Israel. That's not right. How's that not a genocide? Black people as the survivors of the longest ongoing genocidal war in recorded history lasting over the last 600 years, we know genocide when we see it. Any person who claims that they believe in any God or whatever the case may be, how can you sit here and talk about your God when this type of murder is taking place and nothing is happening to the people who are doing it? Don't tell me anything about after they die, no one cares. Don't tell me that you believe in God when even Jesus' homeboys pulled out the sword and chopped the ear off the Roman soldier. Right? Even Jesus went in and flipped over the tables because the people were destroying, the people were usury. Allegedly, Moses brought all these plagues about and whatnot. And all these other prophets, Lot and them, and Sodom and Gomorrah, and blew up the whole and ravaged the whole land, and nothing supposed to be able to grow there again and everything. But with this type of wanted murder, death and destruction, attack on children, God ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing to say. None of your religious leaders have nothing to say. What Christian preacher has come out and condemned this? What Christian preacher has come out and shown the pictures of this type of wanted murder and brutality and said these people are not the chosen people, but indeed are the synagogue of Satan. Who has come forth to point out evil right there? Not no evil under the ground, not no mystery spook, but real evil standing in front of Congress, telling lies, acting like Emperor Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith from Star Wars. Declaring the first Israeli global empire using America's weapons and money. Who's willing to challenge this? Who's willing to expose these narratives? Who's willing to expose the lies that they're going to say that Iran has something to do with the president's assassination attempt, so that when they actually kill President Trump, they can blame Iran and send America to war to be destroyed? Who's willing to call it out? The cowardly, bootlicking leadership of the American press, the cowardly, bootlicking leadership of the Congressional Black Congress, the cowardly, bootlicking leadership of the Republican Party, bowing down and licking the boots of Netanyahu. As Dr. Collins would say, bending over and giving evil an opening. Where we see complete and total genocide right in our face. And they want to tell us, yo, we're not the enemy. It's them. Now, we know, because I talked about it on this show, they sat up here, they killed the president of Iran and killed his man, because his man is like, yeah, we're just not going to lay down for this type of, we're going to be Muslim, right? Remember what his man said? And we're not going to sit here and lay down for this genocide. It's not happening. So they said, okay, kill that dude. Oh, he in the helicopter with the president? Oh, that's a 2-for-1. Definitely. Right? And no one wanted to talk about it. No one pointed it out. I was the only one that pointed it out. Who he was, what he said, and why they killed him. But what I'm going to do, I'm bring back this clip of Dr. McKinney talking about why the Congress was sitting up there like some clapping seals while this liar and murderer was up here bumping his gums. So, set. Bring Dr. McKinney to the stand.
Every candidate for Congress at that time had a pledge. They were given a pledge to sign. And I was new on the scene. And so the pledge had Jerusalem as the capital city, the military superiority of Israel.
American Congress people have to sign this pledge.
Yes, you sign the pledge. If you don't sign the pledge, you don't get money. So, for example, it was almost like water torture for me. My parents observed this. I would get a call, and the person on the other end of the phone would say, I want to do a fundraiser for you. And then we would get into the planning. I would get really excited because, of course, you have to have money in order to run a campaign. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the planning, they would say, did you sign the pledge? And then I would say, no, I didn't sign the pledge. And then my fundraiser would go kaput. I made it public. This probably nobody had said anything about it. But I made it public, and then, the excuse was, well, those were just overzealous advocates for Israel. So then the tactic changed. And but this is what is done for 535 members of the United States Congress. 100 senators, 435 members of the House of Representatives have to now write a paragraph, which basically says the same thing. So it's not a pledge, but it's a paragraph, and you post it. And, you know, there are these forums you have to go to at the synagogues or whatever. And then, you know, if you don't perform appropriately, then you don't get money to run your campaign. The problem is that it requires an awful lot of money to run a campaign. And whether it's a woman's organization, an environmental organization, people can read about this on the internet if they're interested. If you go to thomas.loc.gov, that is the official United States Congress website. And if you put in the name Gus Savage, because Gus Savage was a black member of Congress who was targeted by the pro-Israel lobby. And he had the foresight to use his position as an incumbent in the House of Representatives to put his experience on the congressional record. For the entire existence of the United States Congress now, people will be able to access his experience. And what he wrote was that it was the Garden Club of New Jersey that gave his opponent $5,000. But it wasn't really the Garden Club of New Jersey. It was the activists who were associated with AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Well, the
Oh, I didn't have a mic on. My humble apologies. Thank you all. Greetings to real black gentlemen. Greetings to raw Ito Vital. Let me go back to what I was saying. What I was saying was, as I go back to the article, my humble apologies. It said, as they said, children account for more than 1 in 3. And at that time, they were talking about 32,000 people being killed. Now we're up to 200,000+, which means approximately 70,000 children. And that's probably, this is a conservative estimate, have been killed in this assault on Gaza, right? Let's think about that. If 70,000 children were killed in America by a foreign power, America would go to war and try to destroy that nation, right? But here, America is enabling the murder of 70,000 children. And no one is even talking. Because again, this is the Guardian newspaper. This is a British newspaper. It's not an American newspaper. So, we get back to it real quick. What in the world? Wow. I don't even know if y'all saw that. I got distracted because they're saying that I'll get to that later. I gotta go find that article. Anyway, 9 doctors gave Guardian accounts of working in Gaza hospitals this year, all of them foreign volunteers. A common assessment was that most of the dead and wounded children they treated were hit by shrapnel or burned during Israel's extensive bombardment of residential neighborhoods, in some cases wiping out entire families. Others were killed or injured by collapsing buildings, and still more missing under rubble. But doctors also reported treating a steady stream of children, elderly people, and others who were clearly not combatants with single bullet wounds to the head or chest. Some of these physicians say the types and locations of the wounds and the accounts of Palestinians who brought children to the hospital led them to know, they didn't believe, they know that they were victims, were directly targeted by the IDF. Other doctors said they did not know the circumstances of the shootings, but were deeply troubled by the number of children who were severely wounded or killed by single gunshots, sometimes by high caliber bullets, causing extensive damage to the young bodies. In mid-February, a group of UN experts accused the Israeli military of targeting Palestinian civilians who were evidently not combatant, including children, as they sought shelter. We are shocked by reports of deliberate targeting and extrajudicial killing of Palestinian women and children in places where they sought refuge or while fleeing. Now, let me stop right there. You all may remember in an earlier show where I showed a video where the people were told to go, it was supposed to be a refugee site, and then they bombed the area. So this, again, this is just more documentation of what we already knew. Says the Guardian shared descriptions and images of gunshot wounds suffered by 8 children with military experts and forensic pathologists. They said it was difficult to conclusively determine the circumstances of the shootings based on the descriptions and photos alone. Although some of the cases they were able to identify ammunition used by Israeli military. Eyewitness accounts and video recordings appear to back up claims that Israeli soldiers have fired on civilians, including children, outside of combat with Hamas and other armed groups. In some cases, witnesses described coming under fire while waving white flags. Haaretz reported on Saturday that Israelis routinely fire on civilians in areas its military has declared a combat zone. The Israeli Defense Force deployed snipers, or sharpshooters as the military calls them, during combat operations, often as part of elite units. They are trained to quote unquote target and eliminate particularly difficult terrorist threats, according to the military's own definition. Israeli and foreign human rights groups have documented a long history of snipers firing on, listen to this, hold up, Israeli and foreign human rights groups have documented a long history of snipers firing on unarmed Palestinians, including children, in Gaza and in the West Bank. So this is nothing new. Palestinians in Gaza also report a terrifying new development in the latest Gaza war. Armed drones able to hover over streets and pick off individuals, called quadcopters. Some of these drones have used as remote control snipers that Palestinians say have been used to shoot civilians. The IDF says it completely rejects allegations that the snipers deliberately fire on civilians. So let's start with it. Haaretz, the Israeli-based newspaper, has documented the murder of civilians by the IDF. And yet the IDF says that's a lie. Now, who are we gonna believe? We gonna believe the Israeli Defense Force is committing the crimes, or all the other people that I mentioned, right? Brother Crow said former President Richard Nixon exposed on how Jews have influence on American politics during an interview after Nixon left office. And that was, what, almost 50 years ago? 45 years ago, I guess? No one ever talks about that. Now, one child, I could see there was a shot to the head. They were doing CPR on this 5 or 6 year old girl who obviously passed away. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me go back. Since the IDF only targets terrorists and military targets, in stark contrast to the Hamas's deliberate attack on Israeli civilians, including men, women, and children, the IDF follows international law. Says, I guess, this is just a random IDF statement. There's no actual person attached to it. Okay, so that's a lie. Anyway, Dr. Benita Gupta, an intensive care doctor at a New York City hospital, volunteered at Gaza's European hospital in January. One morning, 3 badly wounded children arrived in quick succession. Their families told Gupta that the children had been together in the street when they came under fire and that there had been no shooting in the area. She said no wounded adults were brought into the hospital at the same time from the same place. One child, I could see there was a shot to the head. They were doing CPR on a 5 or 6 year old girl who obviously died. There was another little girl about the same age. I saw a bullet entry wound on her head. Her father was there crying and asking me, "Can you save her? She's my only child." Gupta said the third young child also was shot to the head and sent to a CT scan. The neurosurgeon looked and said, "There's no hope." You could see the bullet had gone through the head. I don't know how old he was, but young. Family members told Gupta that the Israeli army had withdrawn from the area about 4 kilometers from the hospital. They said people started returning to their homes because the army was gone, but the snipers stayed. The family said they opened fire on the children. Doctors who worked at the Nasser hospital in southern Gaza said what appeared to be targeted Israeli fire killed more than 24 people, including children, as they entered or left the hospital. Among the casualties was 14-year-old Ruwa Kadeh. I could say she was shot dead outside the hospital in Khan Yunis as she went to collect water. They said there was no fighting in the area at the time, and she was killed by a single shot, and then men who went to recover her body were also shot at. In Gaza City, 3-year-old Imad Abu al-Qura was shot outside his home as he went to buy fruit with his cousin Hadil, a 20-year-old medical student, who was also killed. The family said they were targeted by an Israeli sniper. The video of the pair lying together in the street shows Imad still alive after his first hit and trying to lift his head. More shots hit the ground close by, including one that strikes a plank next to Imad. The boy's mother said he was hit again and this time killed. Adil's father, Harun, saw the shooting. The targeting of civilians is very clear. It is deliberate, directly targeting aimed at killing civilians without reason, without there being any events, without there being any resistance. They deliberately killed Hadil and Imad. Other young victims, including 14-year-old Nahed Barka, who was hit by sniper fire alongside his 20-year-old brother Ramez as they followed Israeli military orders to evacuate an area in Khan Yunis in late January, according to the Geneva-based Euromed Human Rights Monitor. Let's stop right here. Let's just start right here. For a minute. Let me gather myself. Let us review. President or Prime Minister, I believe he's Prime Minister, Netanyahu, came here before Congress and told us that Iran are barbarians, right? But it's Israel who are murdering children. It's Israel that are bombing children. It's Israel that have snipers murdering children. It's Israel that has been violating women and been doing this since before any of this started, right? It's Israel that has been lying about murder, torture, violations of women and men. But Iran is the barbarian. Can someone help me out here? Do I have a misunderstanding of what civilization and what barbarism is? Because it seems like we're in some type of alternative universe where the wanton violation, murder, slaughter, and genocide of people is allegedly civilization, and trying to fight and resist that is barbarism. Right? Now, going back to Netanyahu's speech, the interesting thing was he's talking about our Arab friends. No, they're not no Arab friends. They're slaves. Complete and total slaves who have bowed down and bent over for evil. Because according to the teachings of Islam, a Muslim wants for his brother what he wants for himself. And so if you see your alleged Muslim brother, your alleged Arab brother being wantonly murdered, butchered, family killed, his wife being violated, his children being blown up and shot in the head and whatnot, and you claim to believe in Allah and Islam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you aren't doing anything about this, I don't know what type of Islam you have. You might as well take it and throw it away because you ain't using it for nothing. People claim that I believe in Christianity. I believe in the Lord, God, and Jesus, and this and that, and the Bible, and so forth and so on. You can't recognize the devil when he's standing right in front of you. You refuse to follow the teachings of Jesus when he said people are liars and murderers in the synagogue of Satan. You won't call out wickedness out. You won't call murder out. You won't call torture out. You won't condemn it. You won't stand against it. You won't condemn the politicians that co-sign it. You want to tell me that Kamala, I need to vote for Kamala when Kamala's husband is a damn Jew. And he had the nerve to sit up here and say too much anti-Semitism. And they had an anti-Semitism meeting at the White House, but there's no anti-murder of children meeting at the White House. You don't hear Kamala talking about this, do you? The same way she has nothing to say about the wanted murder of black people. So if you sleep with the devil, that makes you a devil. And these bootlicking Negroes talk about voting for that. And you gonna say, well, what about Trump? Trump is a slave of the Jews. What about it? They trying to blow his head off, and he's too deaf, dumb, and blind to see the enemy staring him in the face. So they all slaves. Don't make no difference. But one is married to that hat, and one ain't. One might have some hope of waking up and not taking America down the road to total obliteration. And the other one is definitely going to do. One actually reached out to Bobby Kennedy to talk about these jabs and what happened with that. And one did not. But as it looks right now, it doesn't matter, because here's the reality of the situation. The play, as Brother Genie told y'all, was to get NATO to attack Russia based on what happened in Ukraine. But at this moment now, Ukraine is ready to give up. You haven't heard about that. Zelensky has reached out to China to try to make a deal with Russia. I don't know what Russia's play is going to be. Russia is probably, if I was Russia, I would ask for Zelensky. I said, we'll have a ceasefire, but you got to turn him over. And he has to stand before us and tell us who put him up to this. And he got to spill the beans, give us the documentation on the biological warfare weapons that was in Ukraine. Or else it's no deal. That's what I would say. Because you got to put the U.S. on blast for having illegal biological weapons labs in order to justify the quote unquote invasion. Right? So if you can't have war based on that, then what do? Well, NATO is still ramping up. So why are they still ramping up? Because notice, now let's replay what happened. NATO has the meeting, right? NATO leaves 2 days later, I believe, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, President Trump gets shot at and almost assassinated. And then a few days later after that, Biden drops out so that Harris can come in. And I already told y'all who I think Harris's VP is going to be. He's going to make that announcement, I believe, this week. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong. And then after that, then here comes Netanyahu to start talking about Iran. And then they started talking about in the newspaper that Iran had something to do, basically intimating that Iran had something to do with what happened to President Trump. Did we think all of this stuff was a coincidence? NATO leaves, he gets shot. Then they claim, first of all, we know they botched the whole investigation, all that. We already talked about all that. First, the chick from Secret Service wasn't going to resign. Then she resigned because somebody made the call and told her to get out of there. It's obvious that the Trump thing was a conspiracy. It was not a lone gunman, because ain't no way nobody can just be walking around doing that type of stuff and nobody check them. I'm not going to tell you that I know how these operations work, but I know how these operations are supposed to work, and they're not supposed to work like that. And you can find former intelligence people, you can find former Secret Service people, you can find military people, you can find people that's in law enforcement, you can find people that's in the security field. All tell you the same thing. And you ain't got to believe me. So while that's going on, then Netanyahu comes here and he talks about Iran, this and that and the other, and blah, blah, blah. Wait, and hold on. Let me find an article. And I can't even read no more about the murdering children. Just picture on the throat. Let me see. Did I load it up? Is this it? Yeah, here we go. Now here's CNN, right? This was on the 16th. Now all of a sudden Netanyahu's here on the 4th. Well, was here. What was that? The 25th. So basically, like a week later, talking about Iran. So-called exclusive. Secret Service ramped up security after intel of Iran plot to assassinate Trump. But then they make sure to say no known connection to the shooting. But, all right, they said that, right? But also, Secret Service admits some security modifications for Trump were not provided ahead of assassination attempt. So either the security was ramped up, or it's CNN, but the Secret Service did not give modifications. Which one is it? Which one is it? He asked for more security. You didn't give him more security, but you claimed you had a threat previously from Iran and you gave him more security. Somebody lied. I don't know who. but somebody's lying. Because either you gave them security because there was a threat, or you turned down the security because you didn't feel like there was no threat, or you turned down security because you knew it was a threat. So it is one of those. But I just find it ironic that literally the minute that the NATO meeting is over and everybody's home safe, that assassination attempt takes place, then the president drops out, and then here comes Netanyahu to tell everybody that America needs to go to war with Iran, and then this whole Iran story pops up in the middle of all of that, and they supposed to tell us that all this is a coincidence. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you straight up. Yeah, it was a country with an eye, but it wasn't Iran, and it wasn't India, and it wasn't Iceland. And anybody who thinks otherwise is just a complete and utter fool. It was who? The synagogue of Satan. Plain and simple. And brother, you got ripped off says there are stories going around calling Trump's shooter an Iranian spy. Of course there are. Even though we've seen a picture of him with BlackRock. And Larry Fink is what? With a hat. So says people are gullible to believe that an Iranian spy could live in a country full of intelligence, counterintelligence, unless that country wants spying living there. Bruh. Anybody that believes in this Iranian story and them having something to do with this Trump situation, that person is so dumb, it ain't even nothing you can do for them. It just means they just want an excuse to kill some Arabs. Which Iranians are not even Arabs, they're Persians. But most people don't even know that. So it's just the whole thing. What movie was that one? I think it was Samuel L. Jackson. Like, the whole thing stinks to high heaven. Like, they just think we idiots. Man, what article is this? Oh, okay, yeah. This was from March. It says in a week, Israeli army executes 13 children in and near Al-Shifa hospital. It says in blatant violation of international law, particularly international humanitarian law, the Israeli army has executed 13 children by direct shooting in Al-Shifa medical complex and its Gaza City environment. This is a war crime and a crime against humanity, and is part of the genocide that the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip have been experiencing for the past 6 weeks. Now, this was 4 months, so past 10. For over a week now, the Israeli army has been conducting systematic and horrifying military operations inside and around Al-Shifa medical complex. These crimes include extrajudicial executions and deliberate killings of Palestinian civilians. The Euromed Human Rights Monitor field has received identical testimonies about the killings and executions of Palestinian children between the ages of 4 and 16. Some of the fatal shootings occurred during Israeli army siege while the victims' families were inside their homes. Others occurred when the victims attempted to escape via routes that the Israeli army had designated as quote-unquote safe after forcibly evacuating them from their homes and places of residence. Palestinian Islam Ali Saluha lives close to Al-Shifa medical complex. Saluha stated that Israeli forces killed his sons Ali 9 and Saeed Muhammad Sheikha 6 in front of their families and fellow locals. They were specifically targeting children, he said, with live bullets. According to Saluha, the family chose to stay in the apartment with several other residents because there was no safe way for them to leave after more than a week of Israeli forces besieging them inside their homes and frequent raids. He explained that the afternoon of Sunday, 24th March 2024, the Israeli army ordered everyone in the vicinity through loudspeakers to leave the residential area immediately or face or face having their own bomb. As a result, the residents were forced to leave the area with a number of their neighbors and cross a corpse-strewn road that the Israeli army had designated for travel. Talua said they were only able to walk about for tens of meters before they were suddenly exposed to intense gunfire while targeting the two children, Ali and Saeed in particular. The children then fell in front of them, their bodies covered in blood. As they attempted to pull the two kids off the ground, he said Israeli forces opened fire on them again, forcing them to leave Ali and Saeed on the ground and to continue walking. Talua emphasized that his son Ali was killed in a field execution crime after he had been deprived of food for days because of the siege. He also pointed out that the area around Al-Shifa Medical Complex had been a hotspot for field executions and murders, with the bodies of the victims discovered in the street serving as evidence. The Israeli army launched a massive military operation on the 28th of March targeting Al-Shifa Medical Complex, turning it into a military barracks and transforming the surrounding area into a military zone amid non-stop air and artillery bombardment and live fire. So let's stop right there. Before the street black crowd to desolate. Said, how doesn't Trump see it? Trump is a white nationalist surrounded by hats. So he doesn't understand that by backing this, he sets America up to be hated around the world. And here's the thing, here's the part that doesn't make any sense. You have a country where you have open borders. You are antagonizing and murdering people, or you are enabling people to be slaughtered in your name. And you think that no backlash is going to take place here. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't really make it not even a bit of sense, right? And then you're going to send your military overseas to fight for Israel, when in reality, when you were president, you should have sent your military to the border. It's plain and simple. Like, let's keep it 100. The United States military's job should be to defend the people of the United States. The United States is suffering from an invasion across the southern border of the United States. Thus, the United States military should be deployed by executive order to the southern border to protect against an invasion. Also, go within the city, the major cities where there are a large number of illegal immigrants, and target those people for extradition to their countries. Plain and simple, like that. That's the only thing that should be happening. Anybody, any person in authority who's not doing that is committing treason against the United States of America. Plain and simple. And since the Congress hasn't authorized the president to declare war on the illegal invasion, every person in Congress, every person in the executive branch are traitors to the United States of America. Right? Like somebody stop me when I'm lying. So, I mean, brother says, I watched the Young Turks and they were exposing the plot to go to war with Iran. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't even like Cenk and them, but at least they figured this one out. At least they figured this one out. But at this point, I hate to say it, but I don't see a way that we don't end up in World War III. Because here's the reality situation, and I've talked about this before, but I'll reiterate it. if Israel attacks Iran, Iran is going to respond, and the Houthis are going to shut off the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to send inflation in America up even further. And there's going to be other targets that they can use to shut down gas and oil to Europe. So Europe's going to suffer, right? In which case, because they have a treaty with Russia, Russia is definitely going to get involved. Now, the U.S. doesn't actually have and I don't know if the U.S. has a treaty with Israel like they have as part of NATO, but I'm just going to assume that they do. And they have it in spirit if they don't have it on paper. So then what you're going to have is Israel fighting Iran. The U.S. gets involved in it. Russia gets involved in it because they have to protect Iran. America at that point gets NATO involved. NATO goes against Russia. At that point, China has to come into it to balance it out. Now we're at the point where the question is, who is India and Pakistan going to side with, because they can flip either way. But as we see the dominoes fall in this scenario, how many nuclear armed countries are we talking about? We're talking about the nuclear armed countries of NATO. We're talking about the United States. We're talking about Israel. We're talking about Russia, China, Pakistan, India. You think all these people gonna fight ground wars and nobody's just gonna say, you know what? I'm not gonna lose this war, so we gonna take it nuclear. That's how close we are to nuclear war. And if anybody tells me that that's not what Israel wants, I don't see how it's not. Because there's no way to avoid it if you set these things in motion. Right? Because remember, the Ukraine thing was actually part of the whole greater Israel project, where they're just trying to pave a way from their alleged home to their ancestral home. Their alleged home is Israel. Their ancestral home is on the plains of the Eurasian steppes of that area, part of which that Ukraine is a part of. And they're trying to make all of that, quote unquote, greater Israel, including the $12 trillion that Lindsey Graham said is underneath the feet of the Ukrainians. Right? By the way, you can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dcradical_ONE, on OTW2 at dcradical1. You can donate via the Cashapp if you find this of value, $ dcradical1, and you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. So this is, and by the way, I forgot to mention this. Even though we keep up this type of content, the channel might not be around, but we are 98 subscribers away from full monetization here on YouTube. I'm just going to say, if you know somebody who isn't subscribed, ask them to subscribe. That's all I ask. Ask them to subscribe. Because it's in sight now, and I'm gonna be honest, it's not a lot of people that's going to put this type of information out. It's not a lot of people that's going to bring this type of information, especially to Black people. If y'all heard somebody else not related to myself or Brother Jimmy putting this type of information out, put their name in the chat. Oh, it's probably it's a 50-50 chance on that, brother. You know, right now it's small enough that I don't think, people, we don't get enough views to be a threat. I'll put it that way. But what I wanted to do real quick is I wanted to show a video that I've shown before, because again, this is something that happened before and we forgot. I want to show the World Food Kitchen founder Jose Andres, as he talked about his people being targeted for extrajudicial killing by the IDF. So I have shown this before, but I just wanted to show it again real quick, just to reiterate the different types of things that's taking place. This is a short clip.
Information, obviously, in the first minutes and hours, but very clear. The situation began being very obvious when we began seeing images of these bodies and these passports in the hospital that confirm these were our people. At the end is what we know, what everybody knows, that 17 members between the specialty security people we have, 3 British individuals and 3 international crew plus 1 Palestinian, 7 people dead. But there are 7 on top of a list of more than another 190 humanitarian workers that they've been killed over the last 6 months. Humanitarians and civilians should never be paying the consequences of war. This is a basic principle of humanity. At the time, this looks like it's not a war against terrorism anymore. Seems this is a war against humanity itself. You cannot be destroying every building. You cannot be destroying every hospital, every school. You cannot be targeting humanitarian. You cannot be targeting children. You cannot be fighting the basis of what humanity should be standing for. If we were targeted this way, I need to understand that this was no vicious. I need to understand that this was not by somebody that is above law and order, that decided just to kill us because, I don't know, maybe because I did a tweet that was very strong against President Netanyahu. I don't know. Obviously, that's why we need to have an investigation that is neutral and is above IDF. I believe will be good intentions on anybody, and they will tell the story whatever they want to say. But what I know is that we were targeted deliberately, non-stop, until everybody was dead in this convoy. That cannot be the role of an army. That cannot be the role of an army that has hundreds of drones above Gaza in any single moment.
So Jose Andres is founder of, I believe it's World Central Kitchen. He's I hadn't heard of him until recently. He's a famous chef, and his organization was trying to bring food to stem the tide of starvation. The people were starving, and so they have been using food as a weapon as well against the people. So the amount of war crimes that are taking place is just is innumerable, right? Like, I would have to really sit down and do some research, and I probably would have a full 2 hours of a full 2 hours of information just on war crimes. And I see the brother RB, he said, I feel black folks been talking about it. Oh yeah, it's coming in. Because again, what we never talk about is that the police in America, many different police jurisdictions send their people to be trained by Israel. Right? I mean, this is a fact. This is a documented fact. Now we see what they do, and so now they're just using basic brute force tactics against our people. But yeah, the technological advances, we already see it. Remember, they sent in a robot to kill Mike and Xavier Johnson because they didn't want no smoke. And we forgot about that. That was the first time we heard about it. Then we had the pictures of the four-legged dog-looking robots that they brought up in New York, up in the projects in New York. So yeah, this is definitely coming to us soon. So realistically, we need to have our children studying how do we hack these things? How do we get the jamming technology for these drones? How do we get drones that we can use against their drones? Because this stuff is coming. It's coming to all Americans in reality. But it's like everything else I talk about. Black people, the canary in the coal mine. It's coming to us first. So what I'm gonna do right now, that I just want to show this again. I just want to show these clapping seals licking the boots of Netanyahu for those that missed it, that weren't here earlier. And then there's one more thing I want to talk about real quick before I close out. So let me put the brakes on the music and listen to Emperor Palpatine Netanyahu while he gets thunderous applause from the so-called Congress of the United States.
At a crossroads of history, our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together. Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose. And my friends, I came to assure you today of one thing: we will win. I thank President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel after the savage attack on October 7th. He rightly called Hamas sheer evil. He dispatched 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East to deter a wider war. And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten. President Biden and I have known each other for over 40 years. I want to thank him for half a century of friendship to Israel and for being, as he says, a proud Zionist. Actually, he says a proud Irish-American Zionist.
So that is America's Congress. I'm gonna say this: if any people have a chance to go to a political rally, and you get a chance to ask these people, whether it's your local congressman, senator, president, whoever, ask them just straight up: do you advocate the murder of women and children? That's it. That ain't nothing else to ask them. Because that's what's going on in Gaza. And see what they say. Because either it's a yes or no question. If they say anything other than no, then you know that they believe in the murder of women and children. And you know what you're dealing with. Right? So there's one other thing that I wanted to just touch on, and I'm probably gonna make a video about it, but I was trying to find actual video of it, and so I couldn't find the full video. Apparently maybe the video has been banned, but and y'all gonna, those who know will be like, oh, I understand why he's saying this, but those who don't be like, what does this got to do with English? Olympic bosses apologize for sleazy drag queen Last Supper parody. Let's look at this right here. This was the Olympic ceremony. Now, I didn't see it. These are men, right? Acting like or arranged in a manner like the Last Supper. The person who arranged this, I think his name was Thomas Jolly. I cannot verify it yet, but allegedly he is a French Jewish person. Allegedly. If I can find the documentation, I'll bring it to you. Again, as we were talking about religious people, this was offensive to 2 million Christians, or at least it should be. This is a clear mockery. Even Orthodox Muslims should be offended, because Orthodox Muslims believe that Jesus was a prophet sent by God. That's part of Islam. The opening ceremony of the Olympics had beheaded people, demonic imagery, trannies mocking the Last Supper. Apparently there were some children involved from what I read. And allegedly, the person involved who arranged this and designed this whole thing is Jewish. Those who say they are Jews and then are not, but indeed are the synagogue of Satan. Because who other than Satan makes mockery of people's religion that nearly half the world believe? And on the world stage that everyone's watching, because everyone watches the Olympics. And most people, if they don't watch nothing else, they watch the opening ceremony. So I'm just going to say to the religious people who happen to listen and happen to check this out, how much disrespect are you going to take from your alleged co-religious cousins who claim that they are Jews? Like, at what point is enough enough? How much degeneracy, murder, lies, torture, victimization of children are you going to allow in your name as an American, as a Christian, as a America First, Make America Great as a Democrat, as a Republican, as a Catholic, even as a Muslim, even as Hebrew Israelite. What is it going to take for people to say enough is enough and to seriously oppose the synagoguery? That's the question I put before you all. Brother Irritated JD has put in the work and has pointed us in the direction of the problem. The choice is up to everyone else to do something about it. So with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am DC Radical 1. And with that, I say, BB for ODA and straight black pride. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DC Radical 1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A BB for ODA and straight black pride.